I, 24, am the product of my mom having an affair. Fortunately my dad decided to forgive my mom and keep me, and I had a pretty good upbringing. But I don't really look a lot like the rest of my family, I'm the only redhead, among other things, and I did ask questions of a why am I the only one with, insert trait here. Nature growing up. When I was 17 my mom took me out for ice cream and introduced me to my bio father. She said that she felt I was old enough to know the truth and explained about her affair, while also, A, making me promise I wouldn't tell my older sister, 27 in the present, and, B, hammering home along with my bio father that he'd never be part of my life and didn't want me. It was a lot, I won't lie, but I learned to get over it and move on with my life. Fast forward to the present. My big sis has always gravitated towards older men. We like to joke that it's the result of too many George Clooney movies growing up, and 2 months ago shared a picture of herself and her new boyfriend, who, to my shock, turned out to be my bio father. I debated what to do for a couple of days, then ultimately decided she needed the truth and told her. My sister did not take it well and dumped him, but she wasn't angry with me. Honestly by now she's kinda amused, says that since she banged my dad she's my mom and has extra power to boss me around now. My mom on the other hand is furious. She says I divulged something that wasn't my secret to share and that I had no business telling anyone. That since bio father isn't related to my sister it didn't matter if he dated my sister and it wasn't like they were talking marriage anyway. It's been 2 months and she's still angry, still snide, calls me a traitor, and finds excuses to make loud comments about how I can't be trusted with anything private or important so beware. At the time I thought I was doing the right thing, but I've never seen my mom this angry before and she sustained that anger for 2 solid months, so I'm starting to worry. Did I actually do something really horrible? Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. That's creepy as hell. Imagine if your sister ended up marrying or having a kid with him or something. Your bio dad would be your brother-in-law, your niece would be your bio sister, and your older sister would be your stepmom. Yeah no, she needed to know about that, and you're not an idiot for telling her as she isn't even mad. Your mom on the other hand shouldn't be mad either, because does she seriously want her daughter to marry her fling? Your mom is deeply embarrassed by her infidelity. Rather than be an adult about it and become a better person she's put the burden of keeping her secret on your shoulders. Your origin is not a secret, it's your life. Next time it comes up tell her she can shut up and deal with it or you'll be perfectly happy to start telling everyone. After all, you're not the one who has anything to hide here. Few things are more your business than your family history. 1. It is entirely inappropriate for another person to say you need to keep secrets about yourself, and that's exactly what this was. 2. It is just as inappropriate for a parent to divulge infidelity to their own child and then expect them to keep the secret. That is not healthy parenting, and your mother is as big an idiot for that as for the original affair. You are not responsible for your mother's good name, nor do you need to hide the truth of your history in order to make her more comfortable with her own poor decisions. I recently got engaged to the man of my dreams in April 2019. Set to be married in September of 2020. Even before we got engaged, my fiancé and I agreed that we were going to keep it on the smaller side and only invite our close friends and family. Now, I have 4 other siblings that I'm not close to. I only talk to one and that's putting it lightly. I've chosen not to invite the remaining 3 and only invite the one that I speak to. My mother wasn't particularly pleased, but she understood at the time. We already went through bullcrap with his side of the family due to the fact that I didn't want to invite everyone from his side of the family, which would be an additional 60+ people to our list. My fiancé and I had already had a list of everyone he wanted to invite on his side of the family and mine. It was a huge thing where we eventually compromised on inviting a large portion, but not all. They essentially threatened to not help pay for the wedding, so I felt a bit bullied into giving in. Flash forward to the past few weeks. My mother has had a falling out with the one sibling I speak to and now wants me to invite one of the ones who I have literally no relationship with. I've told her no many times and to please be civil and respect my wishes. Today, she threw the fact that we are inviting my fiancé's family to the wedding, though it was a different scenario in my opinion, and said she isn't coming to the wedding unless I invite him. At this point, I'm over all of it. I haven't been able to enjoy being engaged because it's been family drama and I'm not even looking forward to planning the wedding. We have planned a large portion, and most of everything has been paid for out of our pocket. I suggested we just cancel the damn thing and elope to my fiancé, and he agreed. Would I be the idiot to cancel it and just elope? Not the idiot, elope. Very similar situation with my wedding a few years ago. After 7 months of planning, hitting roadblock after roadblock, we finally said screw it and got married. Invited my parents and siblings, and that was basically it. Zero regrets other than I wish I'd taken more time with the dress. His family had made things so difficult. At one point his mother threatened to dropkick my family if they even looked at her. To this day we still don't know why she said that, since she hadn't met my family at that point. You do you, boo. It's your wedding. I can't stand weddings for this very reason. It takes away from the true meaning of a wedding, which is celebrating your marriage. You want who you want at your celebration. I think an intimate ceremony of your choosing between you and your husband is perfect, eloping. And you can celebrate even more on an amazing honeymoon. Families or in-laws can ruin marriages. It's absolutely okay to stand your ground and do what's best for you and your partner. Everyone else can go screw themselves. I'm divorced and my ex-mother-in-law is a huge reason. I'll never forgive her for ruining the last days I had with my grandfather because she was pissed we didn't choose them for our Thanksgiving plans. That's just one of a crap ton of examples of how families can ruin an otherwise amazing partnership. When my husband and I found out that I'm infertile, we decided that we would still have children somehow. Given my medical issues, in vitro wasn't really an option. My husband wanted to try surrogacy, but in the end I pointed out that there are so many unwanted children in the world that perhaps adoption was the most selfless route. It was a long, difficult road, but we finally were able to adopt an adorable little boy from Haiti. He was 3 when we got him, and he's 6 years old now. From the outset, he's been prone to violent tantrums, and he's getting stronger. He's grown so destructive we had to strip his room down so that it's just the bare essentials. We have tried being firm, being soft, giving discipline, giving positive reinforcement, ignoring, being attentive. He's been working with a therapist for the past 1.5 years. He's actually fairly well behaved there. At home and school, it's a completely different story. He's only in 1st grade and already at risk of expulsion. He's kicked his teacher. He used play scissors to cut a little girl's ponytail off when her back was turned. Now he's lost all privileges to use them. He flooded the toilets by flushing his own clothes. What's worse is that I don't think he feels anything for me or for my husband. He behaves slightly better than my husband than for me, but my husband is naturally loud and boisterous, even when he's not angry, so maybe that's intimidating. But with me, it's just a nightmare. I've been punched, spat on, kicked, slapped, clawed. All by a child that I do everything for. He can be very calm and sweet, but he turns so quickly. Although he's somewhat better after therapy, it doesn't last long. He's been diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder, and unfortunately it's not something that can really be cured. I'm trying to talk myself out of feeling this way. Telling myself that good people don't consider what I'm considering. I've visited all kinds of parenting blogs and mommy forums and adoption subs, including the one here on my alt account. I'm just exhausted emotionally and physically. I welcome your honesty. Not the idiot. I'm adopted. I have RAD. I'm surprised my parents didn't give me up. It's been a very long and tough road for all of us, but I have so much love and gratitude for my parents. I appreciate them in ways other children will never know. We have an amazing relationship now that I am an adult. But it took breaking 1,000 times over to get here. I've seen parents with adoptive kids with RAD and other severe psychological disorders, and I wouldn't wish that situation on my worst enemy. I think that is one of the most common reasons for adoption failure. If you Google RAD and adopted kids adoption failure, you will find lots of articles on the topic. On one hand, people will make moral judgments about you wanting to return the kid, but on the other hand, these people are at risk of being murdered in their sleep by their child. Do what you need to do. You're in a situation that is easy to judge harshly, but those who feel anything more than sadness for your whole family, they are the idiots. They think they can even begin to fathom what your household is experiencing. No way. What you're feeling is natural for what you're experiencing. And I think you need to find more specialized treatment for your son as well as you and your husband. Maybe even intense residential care will be necessary. My paternal grandparents died in a car accident when I was a child. In their will they left their house, a lakefront cabin, to their grandchildren. At the time, that was just me. My parents had barely hung on to their own house in the recession and didn't trust the stock market, so they turned the cabin into a rental. The plan was that, when I went to college I could sell it for a hopefully higher price, plus have whatever rental income it had made. It was a good choice. By the time I graduated high school the cabin had made enough to pay for almost 2/3 of tuition. I decided that rather than sell it, I'd use student loans and pay them off with future rental income. I'm a junior now and if things keep on as they are, I will pay off the loans 2 years after I graduate. The trouble started a year ago when my paternal aunt married a man with 2 teenage sons. They'd used the cabin a few times before the marriage, as I always let family use it, but after they started going monthly. I tried to be patient because I knew COVID was making us all stir crazy, but their visits made it difficult for me to sanitize the cabin. We started having quibbles over when they could go. Then I went up to prep for a new client and I found a mess, one made after I cleaned up from my last guest. The keypad logs show my aunt's code. She had not told me her family would be there. I called her to ask why she hadn't asked to use the cabin or cleaned up and she said we should talk in person. My parents and I go to her backyard, social distancing and all, and she first made my cousins apologize for leaving the cabin a mess. They revealed they were there alone and I told them that can't happen. No one under 18 can stay in the cabin unsupervised, per the rental license. Rather than address this, she told me she was very frustrated with how I treated the family cabin like it was mine alone. It was for all the grandchildren so her sons now owned a third each. I almost passed out, but my parents jumped in and told her no, that's not how inheritance worked. They had specifically asked the estate lawyer about this, and she said that beneficiaries had a time limit to claim their inheritance, and once it was distributed it was final. The cabin was mine alone, legally. My aunt freaked out and said I was being greedy. Grandma and Grandpa wanted us to share, and I should teach my cousins the business so that the cabin could pay for their college too. It became a big fight and my uncle asked us to leave. Now I'm very torn. On the one hand I love my cabin, and I worked really hard to build my business. At this point I handle all bookings, cleaning, and maintenance. But on the other hand if my grandparents had died today instead of over a decade ago, my cousins would have a share. So am I standing up for myself by keeping the cabin, or am I being a greedy idiot? Hold on. So your aunt thinks that her stepchildren whom your grandparents never met are entitled to an equal share of the property your actual grandparents left in their will to you? Man, that lady is tripping. Not the idiot you, go ahead, enjoy the cabin absolutely guilt-free, and make good use of it like I'm sure your grandparents would have wanted you to. The law is on your side, not to mention they aren't your grandparents' blooded grandkids. Who knows if they would have actually left it to them. Besides, your cousins have already shown that they can't take care of the place, they're sneaky and they lie. You absolutely should not let them in on this. Tell them no, threaten to involve lawyers, and change all locks and passwords. It's yours, take care of it. Not the idiot. They're your step-cousins, they never even met your grandparents. I would also change how much you key your family use the cabin. 1. Well, you might not charge them rent, they are responsible for the cleaning fee and damages. 2. They no longer have an all-access code. They will be given a code for their week that then changes. 3. They get 1 free week a year, booked at your discretion. After that, they may use it if it is not booked by a paying client, at your discretion. Essentially, they'll be treated just like any other guest, except you're nice enough to give them a 100 discount. My ex and I divorced 12 years ago. We have 2 children and share custody. We have a great co-parenting relationship and have had 0 issues with anything since our divorce. My ex met his now wife 5 years ago, and we get along good as well. She is a good stepmom to my children, and she treats them like they are her own. I have remained single by choice because I spend most of my time at work or with my children. I date occasionally, but I am not looking for anything serious. My ex and his wife were married 2 weeks ago, and I am very happy for both of them. I think it's great that they finally made it official and that they found happiness with each other. The night my ex's wife texted me the following. So, I think now that me and ex are married you should change your name. After all there can be only one Mrs. X's last name. Smiley emoji. Hi, wife's name. I hope you're both doing well. I'm a little confused as to why I would need to change my name. Because we are married now and I'm his wife. I should be the only one with his last name. X and I have not been married for over 12 years. The reason I did not change my name is due to all my professional certifications and licenses. X and I agreed when we got divorced that it was too much of a hassle to change everything and I would keep my last name the same to avoid the stress and headache of having to do that. Well, that changes now. You will change your name immediately. I didn't respond to the last text she sent, and after about 10 minutes my ex called me and demanded to know why I upset her. I sent him screenshots of the texts and my replies and told him that this entire conversation is ridiculous and immature. He told me that maybe I should just change my name so he doesn't have to deal with the drama. I told him I refuse. I said that again we agreed during the divorce I wouldn't change my name, and even if I wanted to, most of the state offices and courts are closed where we live and it would be near impossible to do. I told my ex that we haven't been married for 12 years, I have zero romantic feelings for him, and that the only reason I have maintained a relationship with him is because of our children. I told him that they are a priority and we need to all get along to raise them as good co-parents. I told him that changing my name wouldn't make me any less my kid's mother or his ex-wife and that unfortunately new wife needs to deal with it. He told me I was making his life difficult and wishes I would reconsider. Am I the idiot for not wanting to change my name? Not the idiot, and you never needed his agreement to keep the name in the first place. You can legally call yourself whatever you like. New wife is being ridiculous because unless I'm missing something you are not Mrs. X, you are Miss, or whatever. In any case, perhaps mention to him that if you were to change your name then you'd also be changing his kids' names to match. The only one making his life difficult is his current wife. If there weren't kids involved I'd tell her petty insecure as hell self that if she wants it done so bad she can reimburse you for all the work needed on your part to update everything. But yeah, you are so not the idiot here. My mother kept my father's last name after they divorced, and the only real change was that she hyphenated things. Of course none of his later wives were stupid enough to ever come to my mother with any such nonsense. She has absolutely no right to demand this from you, and your ex needs to tell her to calm down rather than pandering to her. My university course leaders had been married for 20 years, but the wife still had her ex-husband's last name because she wanted the same name as her kids. My mum and dad split up 17 years ago, and my mum still has his last name for the kids. I'm now married with my husband's last name, but my brother and sister still have dad's name.